Have you ever wondered why you're burning yourself out begging for crumbs at a table where every guest is just as broke as you are? Most people spend their entire lives trying to master the art of selling, yet they fail to realize that who you sell to is 10 times more important than what you sell. If you are tired of the constant grind, the price sensitivity, and the exhausting negotiation over pennies, then you are currently trapped in the average mindset. In this video, we are stripping away the illusions. I will show you why the rich don't just get richer by accident, but by a mathematical design that you have been blinded to by the traditional education system. We will dissect the staggering wealth pool, and I will hand you the exact blueprint to stop competing for $2 scraps and start capturing the 1% whales. This is not about theory. This is about the hard laws of liquidity and the sovereign mindset. Before you take your seat at the elite table, I need to know who I'm speaking to. Where are you building your empire right now, and what is the one price negotiation nightmare you are ready to leave behind forever? Share your location and your biggest pricing headache below. Phase 1. The liquidity. Waterfall and the illusion of equality. To shift your financial trajectory, you must first accept the raw mathematics of the world as it actually exists. Most people operate under the delusion that wealth is a spectrum where everyone has a fair chance to participate. This is the first lie. To understand how the high-frequency class moves, you must look at the current state of household net worth, which stands at a staggering $163 trillion. Imagine a single 100-page book representing the entire wealth of the nation. If we distributed those pages according to the population, the bottom 50%, the people you are likely interacting with at the grocery store or the local coffee shop, collectively share only half of one page, half a page out of 100. That is the entire world of liquidity they inhabit. The next 40%, the so-called middle class, share about 28 pages. Now look at the top 10%. These 10 individuals hold nearly 70 pages of that book. But here is the critical realization. The single individual at the very top, the 1%, holds 32 pages on their own. This one person has more purchasing power than the bottom 90 people in the room combined. When you position your business to serve the bottom 90%, you are fighting a bloody, resource-heavy war over 30 pages of wealth with every other average business on the planet. When you sell to the 1%, you are operating in a vacuum of abundance. The average entrepreneur believes that selling a $20,000 service is 20 times harder than selling a $1,000 product. They are factually incorrect. It is actually easier because the person with the $20,000 is looking for a way to buy their time back, while the person with the $1,000 is looking for a way to justify a loss they cannot afford to make. Stop and perform a radical audit of your current operations. Are you positioning your genius to serve the person sharing half a page of wealth or the person holding 32 pages? Comment below with the word builder if you have realized you have been hunting in the empty part of the ocean. Phase 2. The recursive power law. As a mathematical weapon to dominate your market, you must move beyond the surface-level understanding of Pareto's Principle. You likely know the 80-20 rule, that 20% of your customers generate 80% of your revenue. But the sophisticated operator looks at the recursive nature of this law, the 80-20 of the 80-20. This mathematical recursion reveals that the top 4% of your customers are responsible for 64% of your profit. And at the absolute peak, the top 1% of your client base accounts for over 50% of your total bottom line. The average business owner treats every customer with the same level of intensity. They give the same emotional energy to the person paying $50 as they do to the person who could pay $5,000. This is a fatal operational error. The institutional class understands that a single high-frequency client requires significantly less management than 1,000 retail customers. To serve 1,000 people at $100 each, you require a massive customer support infrastructure, complex logistics, and a high tolerance for the noise of the masses. To serve 10 people at $10,000 each, you only require a high level of excellence and a deep relationship. The profit margins in the second scenario are astronomical because your overhead is static while your revenue is exponential. If you do not have a business model that allows a whale to spend 10 times more with you, You are leaving 90% of your potential profit on the table. Phase 3. The margin of excellence and the operational black hole. One of the greatest fears entrepreneurs face when raising prices is the fear of fulfillment. They worry that if they charge 10 times more, they must work 10 times harder. This is the path to the operational black hole. High net worth clients do not care about your effort. They care about the dream outcome, the speed of delivery, and the certainty of the result. When you increase your price from $1,000 to $10,000, you are not just increasing your profit, you are increasing your ability to provide excellence. Consider this. In a $1,000 package, you are likely the one doing all the work. Your margins are thin and your time is capped. But in a $10,000 package, you can afford to hire the absolute best specialists in the world to fulfill the service for you. You might spend $2,000 on expert labor and $1,000 on premium software or white glove delivery. The average person looks at this and says, "But my costs went up." The visionary looks at this and says, "My net profit is now $7,000 instead of $800, and I didn't have to do the manual labor." The 1% tier allows you to maintain an 80% net profit margin even while providing a level of service that is impossible for your competitors to match. You are using the higher price to buy a better result for the client while protecting your own time. This is how you bridge the execution gap without falling into the trap of high revenue but low cash. You are not just selling a service, you are selling a frictionless transformation where your expenses are simply the fuel for your prestige. Phase 4. Top-down branding supremacy. Look at the giants of industry. They never begin at the bottom of the mountain. They anchor their brand at the highest possible point of prestige and then move down only when they have captured the imagination of the elite. Think of the high-end automotive industry. They start with a $250,000 limited production model. This establishes the brand as a symbol of innovation, luxury, and exclusivity. When they eventually release a more accessible model, the market perceives it as an opportunity to own a piece of that elite heritage for a fraction of the cost. The brand narrative works because it is anchored in high status. Now imagine the reverse. A budget discount brand tries to release a $250,000 supercar. The market rejects it immediately. The brand is perceived as try-hard or overpriced because its foundation is in the bargain bin. By starting at the top, you gain the margins necessary to fund your research and development. You gain the social proof of the movers and shakers. You gain the luxury of making mistakes because your margins are thick enough to absorb them. If you sell cheap, one error will bankrupt you. If you sell with authority, one error is just a line item in your education. Phase 5. The $60,000 morning and the breath of realization. I want to take you back to the morning my internal thermostat for wealth was shattered. I was running a business where I flew across the country to launch gyms. I was fronting the cash, I was printing the contracts, and I was selling $500 packages. I was working 100 hours a week, and I was spiritually and physically bankrupt. I decided to quit. I had 8 gyms left on my list, and I intended to call them and cancel. I wanted my life back. The first person I called was a referral who refused to let me off the hook. He told me I had saved his friend's business and he wouldn't take no for an answer. Out of pure frustration, wanting him to hang up so I could go back to my misery, I threw out a number that felt like a crime. I said, "Fine, it will be $6,000 up front and I am not coming to your gym. You have to execute the system yourself." I waited for the dial tone. I expected him to laugh or call me a fraud. Instead, there was a pause, a silence that felt like it lasted an eternity, and then a simple, calm, "Done. Send me the link." In that moment, the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. But the version of me that lived in the bottom 50% died instantly. There was a silence in my office that was almost terrifying, the breath of realization. I sat there staring at the wall, realizing that for years the only thing standing between me and $6,000 was my own lack of conviction. I had been projecting my financial trauma onto a man who saw $6,000 as a cheap solution to a massive problem. By lunch that day, I had raised the price on every subsequent call. $8,000, $10,000. By the time I closed my laptop, I had collected $60,000 in cash. I hadn't done a single minute of extra work. In fact, I had done less because I had removed the travel. I had moved from being a laborer to being a visionary. If you are afraid to state a large number, it is because you are still shopping out of your own wallet. You are assuming your client has your limitations. They don't. To a person with an institutional net worth, your high-ticket price is an impulse buy. Stop treating your business like a charity and start treating it like the high-level asset it is. Phase 6. Authority, calm, and the signal of price. As you mature in your business journey, you must adopt a tone of authority. Calm, this is the ability to state a high price without a tremor in your voice, without a long-winded justification, and without an apology. The average salesperson talks too much when they reveal the price because they are trying to manage their own discomfort. They mumble. They offer discounts before the client even asks. This signals to the high net worth individual that you do not believe in your own value. Price is the ultimate signal of quality. If you are the most expensive option in your market, the sophisticated buyer will naturally assume you are the best. They do not want the cheapest option. They want the option with the highest probability of success. They look at the most expensive tier first because they do not have the time to filter through the noise of the mediocre. Your price is a filter. It tells the market exactly who you are for and, more importantly, who you are not for. If your close rate is 80%, you are not a professional. You are a discount provider. You are underpricing your life. You should immediately increase your price until your close rate settles between 30 and 40%. At this equilibrium, you have reached a state of healthy supply and demand. You will have fewer clients, which means you can provide better results. Better results lead to a better reputation. A better reputation leads to more demand, which allows you to raise your price again. This is the virtuous cycle that the average person never enters because they are too afraid of the word no. Phase 7. Lead qualification and strategic assets. Not all revenue is created equal. Taking $5,000 from the wrong person is the most expensive mistake you can make. The retail client, the one spending their last dollar with you, will treat your service like a lottery ticket. They will be demanding, they will be anxious, and they will drain your emotional reserves. The institutional client, the one who views your service as a strategic asset, will give you the space to do your best work. They understand how high-level partnerships operate. They are not buying your time. They are buying your brain. This is why lead qualification is the hallmark of a sophisticated business. You must have the courage to tell the world exactly who you cater to. When you say, "We only work with businesses earning over $5 million," you aren't shrinking your market. You are increasing your authority. The wealthy do not want to shop where the masses shop. They want access to the specialized, the proven, and the exclusive. When you specialize, you move out of the commodity category. You are no longer compared to the person down the street selling for less. You are in a category of one where the normal rules of price comparison do not exist. We have all been conditioned by a traditional education system to believe that charging high prices is somehow taking advantage of people. This is a poverty mindset. Describe a moment in your career where you knew you were worth more, but you allowed yourself to be talked down. Let it out in the comments. We are here to bury that version of you today. Phase 8. The perpetual engine of high-margin reputation. The ultimate goal of this wealth migration is to build a self-sustaining engine of prosperity. When you maintain high prices, you secure high gross margins. With those margins, you can afford to pay for the absolute best talent and fulfillment. With the best people, you deliver world-class results that are impossible for competitors to duplicate. These results create an untouchable reputation in the marketplace. An untouchable reputation drives overwhelming demand. Overwhelming demand gives you the leverage to raise your prices yet again. This is the cycle of the builders. The average business is stuck in the opposite loop. Low prices, thin margins, mediocre help, average results, and a reputation that requires constant marketing to sustain. The high-frequency class does not work harder than the average. They simply operate within a superior loop. They understand that if you serve the rich for long enough, Their standards, their expectations, and their logic will eventually become yours. You don't just get their capital, you get their perspective. The transition from the masses to the builders is not merely a financial shift, it is a fundamental evolution of your identity. You must stop seeing yourself as a seeker of money and start seeing yourself as a creator of value. Capital is simply the shadow cast by the value you provide. If you want a bigger shadow, you must build a taller light. As for those of you still watching, those who have demonstrated the focus required to reach the end of this analysis, here is your bonus truth. The most dangerous trap in business is the golden cage of the mid-tier. This is where you make enough money to be comfortable, but you are still trading your life for that money. You aren't poor, but you are not yet sovereign. To break the bars of the golden cage, you must have the courage to stop doing what is working at a low level so you can start doing what is required at a high level. You must be willing to sacrifice the $1,000 yes for the $50,000 maybe. To confirm that you have internalized this signal, comment the secret password, I am awake. This is how we identify the true visionaries in our community. If this message has challenged your current reality, act like a leader. Like this video, subscribe channel, and share this with one person who is currently playing a game that is too small for their potential. This is a value for value exchange. We provide the signal, you provide the reach. Your evolution continues on the screen right now. Click the next video to deepen your understanding of the mechanics of high-frequency wealth. Stay sharp, stay sovereign. I will see you in the next one.